Hi, I'm Sean Smith. This is Sean Smith Photos, where I edit street photography and occasional travel photos in On1 Photo Raw. So today I'm going to do another episode in my ongoing series of Read the Manual, and we're going to look at snapshots as well as versions in On1 Photo Raw. What are the differences? What do they do for you? Let's get to it. Okay, so I got 4 shots here. That these 3 shots I've actually fully edited and published on Vero and Instagram. And then this shot here is the one that I'm going to work with in this episode. I did a few quick edits before I started recording. So if we look in the Develop tab, you can see that, it's been developed. And I've got a couple of effects here, curves, LUTs, dynamic contrast, and I have a couple of local adjustments done as well. So before we go in and start creating versions and snapshots and stuff like that, let's actually take a look at what the manual has to say. Okay, so if we go into the manual and take a look at the screenshot that I'm going to put up here, the snapshots pane. Photo Raw's snapshots function lets you save a photo's editing state at any point in the editing process so that it can be returned to at a later time. When you create a snapshot, it saves all of the current photo's edits as they are in that moment. Once saved, you can get back to that state in the editing process at any time by clicking on the snapshot's name in the pane. You can also create multiple snapshots and move from state to state by clicking on the appropriate snapshot in the list. And then our next paragraph here tells us when snapshots can be useful for comparing different applications of effects such as color versus black and white treatments. They're also helpful when you're not quite sure about where to take an edit and you want to be able to come back to where you are. All right, so let's take a look at the next screenshot. Snapshot basics. The top of the snapshot pane for each photo will always have an item called original, which is the original state of the photo when it was first opened before you do any sort of edits. Okay. Photo Raw will automatically save the final editing state as a snapshot with the date and time you close the photo at the end of the and an autosave label at the end of the snapshot name. So every time you close it, it auto snapshots it. Nice. You got an auto backup of where you are at that moment. To create your own snapshot, go to the Snapshots tab and click the New Snapshot button. A window will open asking you to name it. By default, it will be current date and time, but you can add any sort of useful name for yourself. When you wish to return to editing state defined by the specific snapshot, click on that item in the snapshots pane. So I'll go over this. When we jump into this photo, we'll create some snapshots and things like that. Let's take a look at the last screenshot here, and it says managing snapshots. There are a few snapshot management options available, which can be called up by right-clicking on any item in the snapshots pane. These options include a new snapshot, delete, rename, update with current settings, and create version from snapshot. So I'm going to look at the create version from snapshot a little bit later after we've played around with making snapshots on this photo that I took at the beaches in Toronto on New Year's Day. All right, so let's get to it. And I've got the Snapshots tab open here. And as we can see from what it said in the manual, we see original and we see autosave. And then we're going to do new snapshot. So I'm going to create a snapshot, and I'm going to call this one color. So here we are. I've created my color snapshot, and then I can go back to original. And this is what it is straight out of the camera. And then I can just click this. It takes a second, and there I am. Okay, so I've done color. Now, I was thinking about doing two different possible things with this shot, a black and white and maybe a sky swap, because I did my best to pull up some contrast with the sky, but it looks very washed out, so maybe I'll do a sky swap. But first, I'm going to convert this one to black and white. We'll create a new snapshot. All right, so let's not add an adjustment, go into effects, and we'll add a black and white, and black and white, and then we'll do auto for black and white. And I want to drag this to the bottom of the stack. Oh, I actually changed the look of it when I went to the bottom of the stack too, which is kind of what I expected. And very quickly, I want to pull up on the shadows a little bit. And we'll drop those blacks a little bit more. Okay, so I've added this black and white shot here, and maybe I'm going to turn off the LUT, because I don't want that LUT for that one. Yeah, I'll turn off the LUT, and now I'm going to create a new snapshot. New snapshot, black and white. All right, so now it's very easy. I can switch back to color. There we go. Let's try doing a sky swap. So we'll go to skies. Let it create the mask for us. And I'm going to go into AccuDrone because they have the best skies. And I'm going to go with the storm, and we'll see what is in storm. Yeah, see, this sky is a lot closer to what I could actually see when I was in the scene. It's not exactly perfect. Where is it? Opacity. I'm going to pull back on the opacity a little bit. There we go. And we'll cool it off a little bit. So before and after, and that looks really good. So we can, in our snapshots, we can do one of two things here. We could create a new snapshot, or perhaps I'm going to decide that I want this snapshot or this one to be my final color, because I just like the new sky. Or I'm going to right click, I'm going to update snapshot with current settings. And it's done. And I'm going to go back to black and white. And go back to black and white. Come on, there it is. And I could do the same thing. I could add a sky here or not, but I'm not going to, because now I have the two different versions that I want to do with this snapshot. The really cool thing that I can do now is I can take this black and white version and I can create a separate version that will have its own thumbnail down in the film strip or the grid view. And let's take a look at what a snapshot is. But first I'm going to pull up the last screenshot that we shared. And you can see at the bottom, it says, create version from snapshot. Creates a new virtual copy of the photo using the snapshots editing state. And then there's a link to versions on page 63 of the user guide. And that's what our next screenshot is from. Versions. Versions are really good. Okay, so On1 Photo Raw's versions features lets you create a virtual copy of an image which you can edit in a completely different manner than the original file, but without actually duplicating the file. So you're not adding new, you're not taking up an extra 40, 50 megabytes of space on your hard drive. It's all done with a sidecar file. Okay, creating a version is easy in any of Browse View modes. Choosing Create Version from the Settings menu or choosing Command or Control minus will create a new version of the currently selected or viewed photo. A copy of the image will be created next to the existing one in your library with a V1 added to the file name. In Grid View, version photos will have a small square badge split into light and dark triangles. Okay, so right here, I'm going to create a version from Snapshot. And then when I do that, down here, we should see the black and white snapshot here. And then this should change back to the color version. I may need to click color snapshot, but we'll see. Create version from Snapshot. Here we go. And there it is. And you see at the bottom it says V1. So I'm going to go back to my original file. Go back to my original file. And all of my snapshots are gone. Oh, no, there they are. Just took a second for it to show up. And I'm going to choose color again. And now I've got the color one. So because I've got this version over here, I'm going to right click and I'm going to delete that snapshot. And I now have a color and a black and white version. So I find that if I'm using snapshots, it's because I want to try something out. I don't know if I really want it or not. But if I want to have two different treatments of the same photo, then I'll go with a version. So in this case, I do want to have this color and the black and white one. All right, so On1 crashed on me and we're back. So if you're enjoying this video so far, please like and subscribe. Follow me on Vero, Instagram, and find me on my website, seansmith.net. Links will be in the description below. So one of the last thing that we're going to do here is we'll go back into the grid mode. And we can see the small square badge split into light and dark triangles right here. You see the second one? This means it's a version. And I also notice that you get that even in the film strip version as well. So we can see this black and white version and the color version easily. And, you know, I like this black and white, but I think I'm going to do a sky swap on this one as well. So let's go back into edit. I'm going to choose a different sky. We'll just see how it looks. Okay, sky. Yeah, we'll try this one here. We'll pull back on the opacity again, same kind of thing. And drop the haze a little bit. Yeah, so there we go. And I'm going to create a new snapshot. I'm going to call it Sky Swap. I'm not sure that I will use this one. I actually kind of like the one we were at last there. So we'll go back to this. And that's an that is use the manual, versions, and snapshots. Thank you for watching.